Hey, want to take a walk on the wild side and experience the bleeding edge of technology? Then get ready, because it doesn't get much more edgy than this. You're in for a wild ride. You're listening to Sovryn Tech with your host, the man in triple black, the golden stallion of the tech world, Brian Sovryn. He's got a huge brain. And now, here's Brian.
The Golden Stallion here, ready for another episode of Sovryn Tech. This weekend, let me tell you, you're going to love this. You're not going to get a double load. You're going to get a triple load. I know. I've never even seen one of those on camera. So, triple load coming to you. Get ready. A couple episodes will be released. You know, usually I do a Saturday release, so there will be a Saturday release, and then tomorrow on Sunday, I will also release another episode. I think that'll be December 8th. So December 7th, December 8th, you're getting 3 episodes. You're getting a special. You're getting the nice Dark Android special that actually I would be posting before this show. And you know, check that out if you haven't. I think you're really going to enjoy that. I've been promising that one for a while, and it's all about how you can get your like your Android tablet, and some of it can be implemented into your phone, but how to make your Android tablet just a super secure, encrypted piece of tech, that you can use with a relative degree of anonymity. So check that out if you haven't. Of course, it's on sovryntech.com. Anyway, let's start breaking in. Of course, if you want to donate to the show, some people have. I really appreciate it. We now accept Bitcoin, Litecoin. We also accept ProtoShares. All those can be found. You can find it on sovryntech.com. At the top left, you can find the QR codes and the physical addresses for Bitcoin and Litecoin. But also, if you look in the show notes, there's the physical addresses are written out for Bitcoin, Litecoin, and ProtoShares. So if you do want to donate ProtoShares, which some people have, thank you so much. You can do that right there. So next week, the reason you're getting a triple load this week is because December 9th, till, I don't know, I'll be there all week. I will be in Sin City, Las Vegas. So, and it's going to be I know it's going to be a fantastic time. If you're out that way, please don't hesitate to stop by the MGM Grand. I will be there for the Inside Bitcoin conference that Media Bistro's holding. And I'll be there. I'll be tweeting from it, so you can check the Twitter account, the Sovryn Tech, Twitter page, and I'll do some tweets, maybe take some pictures while I'm around. And other things. I'll be doing, a little work for Free Talk Live. So anyway, so don't hesitate to check that out. If you're in town. Also, though, I've announced this a few times. Okay. And that's the Passport to Freedom Conference. Now, as far as I know, I am actually going to this. This is from January 23rd to the 26th. If you want to find out more about it, there's a link on sovryntech.com. Go to the bottom left of the page, and it says, there's a little text link that says, go to Passport to Freedom, I think it says. And you can click on that, and then you can find out more information, and you can get tickets and whichever. And I will be attending Passport to Freedom, as far as I know. So, but anyway, it looks like it's going to be a great event. Peter Schiff's going to be there, which a lot of people, speaking of Bitcoin, a lot of people in the Bitcoin world aren't too happy with. But there'll be other guests, Bobby Casey, a few others, or quite a few others, I should say, not just a few. And so anyway, please check that out. As far as rapid fire stories for the week, don't really have a whole lot of rapid fire stories other than one that's going to relate to our opening story. And, and I got to say, I tweeted this last night. I said, I'm going to do my absolute level best to not just, so far so good. I didn't open up the show screaming, because during Tech Roulette, I've got a story that just, the first story is going to drive me nuts. Tech Roulette's going to drive me nuts. Software of the week, I've actually got a bad piece of software, and it's from Google again. And then Game Talk, we're going to talk about more Microsoft. There's just so much fucking fail in this episode. It's going to be crazy. So, just be prepared if I get a little hot, if I get a little heated here. But anyway, as far as rapid fire stories, the only big one I've really got is that, and again, it's related to our opening story, is that the Lost Lake Cafe in Seattle, this is some kind of, I don't know, coffee place, whatever. Well, it's a cafe, duh. In Seattle, says no glassholes allowed. Okay. Now, and they put a sign out as soon as they kind of found out about Google Glass and that it started appearing in the wild. They put out this Lost Lake Cafe put out a sign that said, look, you can't wear Google Glass in here, and they have various rules for for picture taking as well when they're in the when you're in the cafe, and I guess whatever. I mean, the cafe owner can they can call whatever shots they want, right? But apparently a guy actually went in there wearing Google Glass, or maybe he didn't go in there wearing it, but he put it on after the fact, and they told him to leave. Great marketing scheme, because Lost Lake Cafe is one of the most popular cafes in the world right now, because they're taking a stand against Google Glass. But a lot of people are talking about this because it's out there. This is second or third tier people that... all right, real quick, funny thing. I keep trying. I'm on my big laptop right now, okay, recording on location. I'm not in the studio. And I'm using my big laptop right now, and I've gotten so used to my Chromebook's touchpad gestures that I keep screwing up the story I'm about to read, because I keep trying to do those gestures. I love the gestures. They work so well. Like left or right click is 2 fingers down, and it won't do it. What a piece of shit. No, it's a fine computer. Anyway, I just got to get used to using something unintuitive like Windows. All right, so this is from the opening story is about Google Glass, because again, it's out there. What are the reactions? You've got guys like the tremendous and to me highly respected journalist Mike Elgin, who's actually going to he's taking over some business on Twit there, if you want to check that out, which I couldn't be more than happy, to hear about. But Mike Elgin says, hey, everything's going to be fine. Google Glass is going to take off. Everybody's going to want it. It's just a little weird right now. People just aren't sure what to do. Well, another person that I have tremendous respect for, and just a incredibly beautiful and intelligent woman, not the lovely and hyper intelligent Dr. Stephanie Murphy. Of course, that's a whole other ball game. But Jolie Odell, and she writes for VentureBeat. She's written for stuff for years. I've been following her work. She's fantastic. And this is a story from VentureBeat. It's from like back in May. But I think some of the points are still kind of salient. And it's Google Glass hands-on. This isn't and never will be a good device for consumers. As a Google Glass owner, I can immediately see how it will be incredibly useful for so many kinds of people: doctors, mechanical engineers, any sort of field worker. But for us layfolk, the device only serves to make us look awfully nerdy, to make us economic targets, to make us less aware of the world around us, and to leave us more disconnected than ever from the real people we encounter every day. I signed up for Glass the first day of Google I/O last year. The device was and is a gift to my now husband. He loves it. But even he, the tech-obsessed gadget fiend, admits it's difficult to wear. The first time he set foot outside the house with it on, he immediately stepped in dog shit because he wasn't paying attention to the world outside the screen. And he adamantly refuses to wear it on public transportation for fear of being mugged. In its current form, Glass doesn't have too many apps or features, and it's incredibly non-intuitive and buggy, just as you'd expect from a developer prototype. Right now, it can't do much aside from take really bad pictures and perform Google searches based on your poorly interpreted shouting. But give it a few months. Soon it'll be streaming Netflix cues, taking brilliant long-form blog post dictation, and offering up a wealth of casual social games, a portal into an endless labyrinth of distraction. In the tech press, we'll probably be reporting on each app that pops onto the Glass landscape, gushing over the capabilities of the device as they grow with each new day. We'll report on the novelty use cases, like the first guy who writes a play or a novel using Google Glass, or the girl who shoots a feature film using the device. Occasionally, we'll write about someone who runs off the road while wearing Glass, or some university that bans Glass in the classroom, or a babysitter who lets a kid get hurt because she's playing with her Glass. And some overzealous Emily Post type, probably at an old-timey print rag, will write a much-mocked op-ed about the slight but growing disconnection between people, the rudeness amplified from the current form of iPhones and earbuds, with distraction now appearing right before your eyes in addition to your fingers and ears. But the cumulative effects won't amount to a societal change in how we consume information or deal with life away from our desktop screens. It'll just be the same kind of impact smartphones have had, all the good and bad, but slightly accelerated and accentuated. On the other hand, for myriad kinds of workers, I can see Glass being an extraordinarily helpful hands-free tool. Imagine working on an airplane engine and having the manual right in front of you, or using it to photograph and catalog new species during a deep-sea diving expedition. Even the first coalition of Glass app investors see its greatest potential in professional use cases, not consumer applications. It's up to us as individuals to make moral decisions about the technology we use. For me, I consider technology a tool, a means to an end. Too often, my peers tend to get wrapped up in the joy of tech in and of itself, as an end and a goal to be celebrated, rather than a tool to be carefully used. In my moral universe, Google Glass for consumers can only serve to distract us, not truly help us any more, better, or faster than the other tools we already use. For example, you already have Google Maps to guide you around your city with turn-by-turn audio navigation. That tool doesn't get any better when it's smack dab against your eyeball. Neither does your email or Instagram feed or your Facebook account. Glass is a game changer, sure, but in the worst possible way. And here's a part of the story that I just love, because I said this. We've talked about Glass before on Sovryn Tech, and this was one of the first things that I said about it. She says, from the first moment I saw it, Glass reminded me of a Star Trek episode called The Game. The plot was pretty simple. Everybody aboard the Enterprise got hooked on a glass-like visor running a casual puzzle game, one that addicts its players. This sci-fi is within spitting distance of our current reality. But the unfortunate plot twist was that the hostile aliens were able to infiltrate the ship because no one was, damn paying attention to the world around them anymore. Now, of course, that episode was that's from, I believe, season 5 of the Next Generation, and Wesley and Data and a very young Ashley Judd end up saving the day in that episode. But it's more than that. It wasn't just like the hostile aliens took over because nobody was paying attention. Like the glass device they were wearing in that, and it actually looked kind of close to Google Glass, oddly enough. Actually, like, hypnotized the crew of the Enterprise. And it got everybody, Captain Picard, Riker, the whole business. Anyway, thus Google Glass. If you're using it recreationally, not professionally, to complete a task, don't kid yourself. It's not enhancing your life. It's robbing you of the joy of actually experiencing your life. You'll realize that the first time you step in dog shit or have your girlfriend get mad at you for not listening to her or lose your kid in a store. This post was supposed to be my big hands-on review. Instead, all I have to offer is this. Unless your employer tells you otherwise, don't even think about getting Google Glass. And train yourself to rely less on your smartphone while you're at it. We can wait for something better, more useful, and more human-friendly to come along. Okay, now, like I said, there is like a counter article out there where Mike Elgin, actually... That's kind of how I ran into this story, as I was reading the Mike Elgin story, and he linked to this because he was trying, to sort of work against it. And you can find that story. Mike Elgin's work is very easy to find because it's very popular. And but I'm inclined to agree very much with 99% of what Jolie Odell is saying. I don't think Google Glass adds anything. Now, this is something we talked about a couple episodes ago, okay? Is that when you bring out a product, that product has to bring value, okay? It can't, yes, of course, some jerk can just do stuff for profit, okay? But generally, the best way to gain real long-lasting profits is to bring value to the market. There's no value here for the everyday person. And I think Sergey Brin, okay, and I don't hate Sergey Brin, okay, but Sergey Brin, I think he's expecting everybody to end up wanting to wear these things. He's not coming out and saying, and he's kind of the creator of this project with Google X. He's not coming out and saying, yeah, this is really only for professionals and for sports guys or something. He's not saying that. He wants everybody jumping on this. And, maybe some people are saying to me that, maybe it's like the internet, where with the internet, we don't know, okay, how that's really like what the internet, how we're really going to interact with that in the future. And maybe we don't know how we're going to interact with Google Glass, but I really am. I'm very much inclined to agree with Jolie Odell that all this is just going to cause mass distraction. No one's going to be, being self-aware of anything going on around them. I can only imagine, you look at the Bitcoin price right now. We're down to like 600 something, okay, as compared to 1,000 just inside of a couple days, not even. I'm just picturing people having like the Bitcoin Paranoid app, running on this, and they have the Bitcoin price on their eye all the time, and holy shit, they're going to die from a heart attack. I don't think we're meant to get this kind of information feed like that. Now, maybe we'll get our transhuman bodies, and then, we can handle all the information in the world, and it'll be just like the Terminator, where, the Terminator, he sees like the red vision, and in that vision, he's just getting a ton of data all the time. But like she said, like Jolie Odell said, her husband goes outside, and he instantly steps in dog shit, because he's not paying attention, to what's happening. Everything's just like looking up at the eyes. And now, and we go back to the story about, okay, why did the Lost Lake Cafe, why did they not want, a person there with Google Glass? Well, now granted, yes, I think it's just a brilliant marketing scheme. Okay. But the main thing, I think or not the main thing, but the stated thing is that they're concerned about the privacy of their diners. Which, in a town like Seattle, like I could see this becoming a big deal in like LA or New York City, because you're going to have, celebrities in there, right? And you want to welcome celebrities in there. You don't want them to have to worry about pictures being taken. This is actually commonplace in New York City, and it has been for a long time. That no, you don't. I can't tell you how many times at the Seasons in New York City where, they would turn, I hate to stereotype this, but they turn some Asian person around and said, no, you get either put your camera at the door, or get out of here. This is not new, okay, that suddenly, they're these people are against people wearing cybernetics, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not that at all, okay? It's just that, a lot of these establishments really are concerned because they want their high-paying customers, which happen to often be celebrities, okay, or business magnates, whatever. They want them to be able to dine with absolute privacy, and often enough with someone who they don't want anyone else to know that they're with. So, there are some genuine modern-day concerns. Some of this has already been addressed, okay, and yes, we've said this before too. You don't own the photons that are hitting your face. Okay, you don't own your likeness. You don't own your image. So is there something like, for lack of a better phrase, is there something morally wrong with people going around and taking pictures of you? No. And yes, there's 10 billion smartphones already out there taking pictures all the damn time. Blah blah blah. No doubt about it. Okay, but I got to admit, and I don't want this to seem as like somehow some kind of, some kind of almost racism. But like if someone's talking to me and they're wearing Google Glass, like I'd kind of be annoyed, because you do want the person's like attention. Like say you're sitting down on a couch with somebody, okay? Say you're sitting down on the couch with somebody and you're talking to them and they're just like flipping through their Facebook feed. You know what I mean? They're just flipping through it. Do you feel respected? Do you feel like what you're saying is important to that person? I wouldn't. I'd be like, oh well, if they do it for 2 seconds because they get a bleep, sometimes people's businesses relies on Facebook. That's a totally different story. But I'm talking about nonstop. Like for like 5 minutes, they're flipping through their Facebook feed or some other nonsense. I'd be offended. Because it's like, look, what if you're sharing something really, really powerful and important, or what if you're talking to somebody with Google Glass and you're trying to speak with some degree, of confidence, Yeah, I think this is a real problem. I'm not okay with cameras being everywhere. Okay, I'm not. And if I'd be okay if smartphones had all their cameras ripped out of them. I'd be fine with that. And I'm not some Luddite. Okay, I'm just saying that, like, I don't even see having cameras all the time being that big of a benefit. I always complain about cameras with this. Okay, I had family members that were just obsessed with taking pictures long before smartphones, and I thought it was the most. I'm like, live in the moment with me. Stop trying to, just constantly, like, you're trying to capture this stuff when it's bullshit. Because, like, you're telling a person can't even feel genuine joy on Christmas because they're trying to open up the present. Okay, and they're like, oh no, hold it. What? Yeah, okay, now just tear it open a little bit, then stop. So we can take the picture. What the fuck is that? For crying out loud, let the kid open the goddamn present. Yeah, this picture culture has been around for a while, okay? And Google Glass is just going to make it worse. It's just like giving people it's like people becoming suddenly rich. The real person comes out. And with Google Glass, I think everybody's just going to turn into a bunch of voyeurs instead of looking at themselves. They're going to be too busy just snapshot of everything around them. And holy shit, I see nothing but bad things out of this. Now, Jolie Odell is totally right in talking about, that in professional uses, like, I think this would be phenomenal. Okay. I think it would be absolutely phenomenal, to be getting a live feed while you're, because what happens now is that usually, when they're doing some kind of surgery, open heart surgery or whatever, they stick that little camera tube down and they have to look to their left on the screen or maybe just look above them on their screen. And, this is really super fine, precise work. And if a person could just have a live feed getting shot directly onto their eyeball, oh, please, yes, this is a wonderful idea, okay? Like they said, someone's working on a helicopter, okay, a mechanic, and he's got the manual right in front of him. She has the manual right in front of her, and she can just work on it, and maybe even get like a live feed of how to fix things. Oh, that's tremendous. But for the everyday person walking around, or even, like some of these extreme sports guys, wearing this while you're skiing, going down the slopes, wow, that would make for some tremendous entertainment and video. But for the everyday person, you are not that. Most people aren't that big of a deal where they need to be posting everything on YouTube. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. If a bunch of white boys start posting everything they do on Google Glass and shooting it up on YouTube, wow, talk about a waste of bandwidth. Yeah, I think this is an absolute mess. Because here's the funny thing, I think where a lot of that comes from is that people have, like, they all want their 15 minutes of fame. They have the celebrity mentality, and maybe they think that they can somehow capture that with Google Glass. They can capture that, that 15 minutes of fame. Let me tell you a secret. Most celebrities don't want it. Okay? They don't want the constant 15 minutes of fame all the time, They want their big paycheck. Okay, they want to do their movie. They enjoy acting, whatever, it helps them, maybe consciously or unconsciously deal with certain parts of themselves. But most people, most people of affluence don't want anything to do with this kind of crap. Okay, and anyway, I'm getting off topic. But this whole Google Glass thing. I like Google, but this whole Google Glass thing is just nuts, and it's creating. I didn't even get into, like, the serious privacy issues, and we're about to talk about where some of this we'll tie this in with the next story during Tech Roulette, and you're going to see just how crazy this could get. This is Brian Sovryn, and you're listening to Sovryn Tech.
Got an energy spike. Launch. In the third age of mankind, an age plagued by an evil empire that seeks to destroy humanity, it is our last, best hope for peace. It is Babylon 5.
All fighter squadrons launched.
Get us out of here. Return fire.
Well, freeze them!
Watch Babylon 5.
You can watch Babylon 5 and experience the greatest show in television history. See the entire series completely free by going to thewb.com/shows/Babylon5.
Tech Roulette. Want to play?
It is time for Tech Roulette, and I always want to play. And okay, I mentioned earlier that it's going to be amazing if I think I already started screaming. I already got fired up in the first segment, but this story just goes to me just goes beyond belief. Now, are you going to find this story unbelievable? Of course you're not. With things going on with Prism, everything that Edward Snowden's released, blah, 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 all the things that a lot of conspiracy theorists have always thought that are going to end up now being true. Of course it's not going to be a surprise to you, okay? But it should still come as a surprise that it's happening now and that it's admitted to in relatively mainstream media, and that, these things, like, it's so commonplace now to find out that everything we do is electronically is essentially being watched. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't, not feel anything about it. That doesn't mean that we should just suddenly turn around and go, it's like, oh, well, yeah, no shit. It's, I kind of feel like Howard Beale, where he just comes out and says, I'm not going to take this anymore. It's like, the first thing you got to do is get mad. Let's read the story. This is from Gizmodo. It's actually from the Washington Post, which is interesting that the Washington Post, recently got bought by Jeff Bezos, head of Amazon, and they're coming out with all kinds. They broke the story about cell phones being tracked. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. All this stuff. It seems to me like Bezos is like, okay, we got to compete with the Guardian, because the Guardian's the only paper that anybody's reading anymore because of the Snowden revelations. So we got to grab this stuff too. Somehow, I don't know how Bezos is grabbing all this information or what, but I'm glad the Washington Post is putting it out there, even if there may be nefarious purpose behind it, because I don't believe that Jeff Bezos is like that great of a guy to where he actually cares about liberties. Anyway, so this is the short version from Gizmodo. There's a link to the Washington Post article in it if you want to read the full thing. It is a long-ass article. It is 4 pages for an internet article. That's crazy. Anyway, the FBI can secretly turn on laptop cameras without the indicator light. And, actually, I like how this guy wraps this up. Scary, insane, ridiculous, invasive, wrong. That's the actual words of the article. The Washington Post reports that the FBI has had the ability to secretly activate a computer's camera without triggering the light that lets the users know it's recording for years now. What in the hell is going on? Look, I'm reading the article, okay? And this is not, believe me, Gizmodo's part of Gawker Media. They love Obama. All right, they love their government. This is amazing. This is their exact words. What in the hell is going on? What kind of a world do we live in? It's almost like they listen to my show and they quote me. Marcus Thomas, the former assistant director of the FBI's Operational Technology Division, told the Post that the sort of creepy spy laptop recording is, quote unquote, mainly used, keyword, mainly used in terrorism. It's not always used in terrorism. It's mainly used in terrorism cases or the, quote unquote, most serious of criminal investigations. It doesn't really make it less crazy or any better, since the very idea of the FBI being able to watch you through your computer is absolutely disturbing. Again, I'm reading verbatim exactly what this article said. The whole Post piece about the FBI's search for a bomb threat suspect is worth reading. It shows how far the FBI will go with its use of malware to spy on people and reveal the occasional brain-dead mistakes the FBI makes to screw themselves over, like a typo of an email address that the FBI wanted to keep tabs on. Good to know these completely competent folks are watching over us by any means necessary. First, kudos to Gawker for letting this get written in this way. I shouldn't have to give you even the details. The fact is, this happens, and people should be livid. They should be livid that this bullshit's going on. This is beyond sick, okay? Forget the Glassholes. This goes 10 times beyond the Glassholes. This is the ultimate in surveillance and voyeuristic bullshit. This is 10 times, in my opinion, 10 times worse than the backscatter porno scanners that they had in airports. This is terrible. And yes, I know I shouldn't be shocked. I'm not necessarily shocked that this is occurring. Yes, I know. No, you didn't think they were doing. I knew they were doing this, okay? I fucking get it. But the point is that now it's out there in the open. The Washington Post is fucking reporting it. The FBI is admitting to it, and they're saying it's okay. And they're so brazen. They're not even saying, well, it's like, oh, we only use it in these cases. No, they say mainly. They're admitting that it's not even just for terrorism. The FBI investigation. They're supposed to be investigating. They're not prosecuting criminals. Okay, they're supposed to be investigating proper criminals. Now, by their own laws, okay, a criminal, they're innocent till proven guilty. That means they still have rights until they're proven guilty. The FBI cannot call you guilty. They're investigating. All right. Now we talked last week how privacy was not officially, the right to privacy was not officially recognized by the United States until 1967. Fine. It wasn't recognized until 1967, but it is recognized now. And these people don't care. There's articles going around where they're saying, hey, you think the NSA is bad? You should see what the FBI can do. And the FBI has all the oversight in the world. It's not like, because some proud Americans wrote off the NSA as well. The NSA, they got to do what they got to do, and they can't always inform the president of every little damn thing. The FBI doesn't work that way. Okay, I know. The FBI has to report every damned little thing to a whole lot more people than the president, and there's no way they were doing this stuff without somebody knowing. As to where the NSA, maybe you could get away with that. No, somebody had to know this bullshit was going on. So what's happening is essentially, if you read the Washington Post story, okay, I'm going to try and calm down a little bit. But this is maddening. According to the Washington Post story, what you can do is, or what the FBI can do is that anytime, they get your email address. Okay, they get sovereigntech at riseup.net. Let's say they got not RiseUp, but whatever. They got Brian at freetalklive.com. Okay, so I type in Brian at freetalklive.com. I log in. Doesn't matter what computer I log into. Doesn't matter what device I log into. Doesn't matter where I log in. But once I log in, the FBI registers that I logged in to my email address, and then they turn on the camera on whatever device I'm at. I could be at the library. Do you get it? They're not just invading, they're invading every piece of property in the world, and they don't care. They're not just invading your laptop. This is crazy. Now, a lot of it's based upon, installing malware on these things, but the malware is everywhere. Everybody's using Windows. Nobody's really using Linux. To some degree, maybe, hopefully, Linux would somehow, maybe wouldn't allow for this to occur. Okay, but this ugly piece of malware, it makes sure the indicator light, like I'm looking at on my laptop right now, I see the webcam, and there's a little light off to the right side that'll turn orange when it's on. Okay, or you can actually, there's like a hotkey that you can press, FN and then a key, and it'll turn off the camera. Nope, they can just bypass all that, and they can make it so that you don't know that it's on. Now, I don't know if maybe a person could go look in the processes, they hit Control-Alt-Delete, and they can look at the processes on their computer, and what they would see. The process wouldn't be a name you'd recognize. And what, you're going to have to check the processes like every 20 minutes, just to make sure the FBI is not looking at you? Yeah. I mean, I'm almost at the loss for words, When Snowden said this stuff gets worse, yeah, this shit gets worse. My opinion, Prism's nothing compared to this. You think there aren't guys using this, to look into bedrooms? Oh, please. You bet your ass they are. This is, in Pennsylvania, I think it was in Pennsylvania a few years ago, there was a school superintendent doing this. Now that one, okay, that got me livid enough back then, believe me. And I've brought that story up before on Free Talk Live, and I've probably mentioned it on the show too. Okay, that story drove me nuts as well. But I'm like, okay, well, there's something you can do about that that's really simple. You just learn your lesson. You don't take free hardware from school. You don't take school laptops, because then when the superintendent was morally out of line in the first place, okay? But, then you can say, well, no, you can't do that. It's my computer. It's not the school's. You can't just turn on the camera when you want. Well, the FBI says, fuck you, yes, we can. And for what? Well, there's Supreme Court justices, there's FISA courts, they won't let them just do that. Bullshit. They'll rubber stamp anything that they want. Madness. Absolute madness. Now, let's put this in a little bit of perspective. You take this capability and you put that on Google Glass. Then what do you got? Fine. Oh, yeah, they could do it in cameras. Well, cameras can sit in your back pockets. That's fine. Okay? Or you could put stickers over that stuff. Maybe we need to put, maybe that's what, tell you what, if you are so ass happy about Google Glass coming out, do me a favor. If you're going to, if you're going to walk up to me, put a little sticker over that camera. You can see the camera on it. Show a little respect for other human beings. And I'm worried too, because I think there's a lot of philosophically inclined people who would say, well, you have a problem with my Google Glass? I don't think you're being vulnerable enough. What? What do you mean I'm not being vulnerable enough? No, I'm telling you to get that camera on my fucking face and leave me alone. The ultimate of rights, if there are rights, the ultimate of rights is leave me the hell alone. That's what this is all about. Crazy. The guy that wrote the article, he just came around and says, what world am I living in? I agree. What world am I living in? What the hell is going on? That's exactly his words. That's my words. What the hell is going on? How come people aren't freaking out? What, because they didn't take your internet or your television away from you? How about that? Okay, guess what? We've got another article. Turns out that the government it's called Standard Operations 303. The government has an internet kill switch. It's true. It was in Slate. Slate's a fucking liberal paper. I'm sorry I keep yelling, but don't you... this is crazy. This is so nuts. Who can possibly say that all of this is okay? Who can come out? What person, what wonderful statist can come out and say, yeah, no, we have to do this? I want to hear that argument. I don't think anyone can give it. I don't. This is mind-numbing. It's absolutely unbelievable. So tell you what, look, government, this is what I want you to do. NSA, you're listening into Sovryn Tech? You better, because, boy, I use every hot word on every terrorist watch list you can imagine, okay? Turn off the internet, turn off the television, because then people are going to say, that's enough. That's what it takes. I was listening to a tech podcast, and a guy on there, actually a guy I have a lot of respect for, but a guy on there, he says, man, he's like, if I had the choice between like water, electricity, and internet, he says, make sure I have my internet. I don't care if I don't have water. I think that tells a story. I think that's the thing. These people don't take away their endorphin rush, okay, which happens to be, the internet or television. I'm not going on some big rail against the internet or television, but go ahead, kill it, kill all that. That way maybe people will finally say, hey, what the fuck are you doing in Washington? It's not just Washington. Please, every government around the world would do this. And they probably do. This is unbelievable. And to take it to the next level, this is something I wanted to talk about in the last segment, but I'll talk about it now. Google X, there was a story out there. There's a woman who's working for Google X. Google X is like the secret mad scientist laboratory for Google. And she came out and said, look, tablets, smartphones, Google Glass, boring. All that stuff's garbage. She's like, and that's all anybody wants to work on, and they're just, it's dumb. That's pretty much her words, is that all this stuff is just ridiculous, and that they're working on something eons bigger. I'd appreciate it if they held off on releasing whatever that eons bigger thing is, unless it has privacy in mind, until all these governments fall. Because I don't want anything more ubiquitous or pervasive, okay? And, I'm, like I said, I think I was talking about this last week, okay? I'm a really open guy. Believe me, people could record me all day long, and there's nothing that they could use against me as like, oh, see, I got blackmail on Brian Sovryn. Look, he was doing this. Go ahead, put it out there. No one will care, because they'll be like, oh, it's Brian Sovryn. Of course he did that. What, you caught him in an orgy? No shit. I'm not the kind of guy that's even worried about this stuff, okay? But it's not just me on planet Earth. It's not just me. It's something, I hate this because what do I have, what do I have for an answer? Well, I released a special this week that you can check out, the Dark Android special. Which, that's something to at least be an annoyance, to at least be a little bit of a thorn in the side of this poppycock bullshit, okay, that the FBI is doing and whoever else. Okay, that's a start. But boy, there's got to be a lot of societal change. All of these societal mores just have to go, or at least if they don't go, they have to be, when one doesn't follow societal mores, we just got to make it so that we don't judge people on them. I mean, go ahead and write into me, and I can't even picture, I pride myself on my ability to really, to empathize, and put my empathy means putting yourself in, kind of in another person's shoes, essentially, mentally, to some degree. Well, it's not all it means, but that's part of it. Okay. And I pride myself on being able generally to figure out what someone else is thinking. And I just can't picture, unless it's someone that's just so cognitive, just has so much cognitive dissonance, and is so old that it's okay. They can do this week. They got to watch us while you're changing your colostomy bag. I can't picture the argument. Please, you can email me with it, okay? sovereigntech@riseup.net. You can email with me. And tell me what you think that argument is, and we'll talk about it in listener email, because I just can't picture it. This is fucking insane. I'll be back with more.
Time now for 90 Seconds on Sex with Dr. Paul.
Back in the 1970s, a woman who had become a famous psychologist noticed that a number of the women in her college dorm had their periods at the same time. She called this menstrual synchrony, and she did a research study on it that supposedly found it to be true. Well, since then, a number of studies have shown her calculations to have been in error. Yet the idea that periods will start to occur at the same time if women live together refuses to die. Since that first study, researchers have enlisted hundreds of roommates in college dorms to be in year-long studies. They've studied menstruation in lesbian couples and in African tribes where women spend their periods in menstrual huts. And they've done experiments with more menstruating hamsters and rodents than you can imagine. Well, hard as they've tried to prove that menstrual synchrony exists, most researchers have concluded that it doesn't. One of the reasons why it might seem like menstrual synchrony exists is because there's so much variation in when women get their periods and in how long they last. Women's periods arrive every 21 to 35 days, and they can last from 2 to 7 days. So statistically, the chances are good that every couple of months, periods will overlap. But that doesn't mean that one woman's body will influence another woman's body to start having their periods together.
For more, visit 90secondsonsex.com.
Software of the week.
It is time for Software of the Week. And, I was kind of hoping, hey, yeah, I can calm down now. But no, I'm going to talk about more bullshit. For Software of the Week, this is where I talk about software that's sometimes, good, useful. Sometimes it's even something that gets asked for by request. And sometimes it's something that's terrible. Now, I've only done a couple of terrible ones in the past, iTunes 11 and Google Hangouts, which Google Hangouts is actually getting a little bit better, full disclosure. But this week I'm going to talk about Google Play Books. Now, this is different from Google Books. This is not Google Books. Google Books is a great thing, okay? Do you hear me? Google Books is okay. Google Play Books is not okay. Google Books is where Google is scanning a lot of old documents, like every book they could possibly find, and they are putting it up on the internet, mostly for free, sometimes at a cost. But they're very rare books often enough. It's a really great thing. Google Play Books is totally different. Google Play Books is a competitor to Apple Books, iBooks, whatever, and in Kindle. Okay. First off, it generally offers nothing of interest or nothing over Apple's books or especially the Amazon Kindle. It doesn't even compare to what Kindle does. And here's the problem. So it's actually the largest digital bookstore in the world, okay, probably in large part due to everything that's available through Google Books. Okay, but again, this is different. This is Google Play Books, okay? And Google Play Books, actually, when you purchase a book on Google Play Books, and you can do this, you can do this in your web browser, you can do it, on your Android device, whatever. And when you actually purchase the books, you're not actually purchasing the book like you do when you buy it from Apple or from Amazon. You are licensing the book, kind of like with Windows. You don't actually own your copy of Windows. You only hashed out $300 for the ability to use it. All right. And so these digital, the digital books that you can get, the ebooks that you can get through Google Play Books. Now, Google Books, again, Google Play Books, if you go to a country where that book is not able to be licensed out, okay, like if you go from America, you buy a book here, and then you go, to some really far off, like way far off country like Canada, and you get a book that's not licensed in a far off country like Canada, you can't read it. Of course, you could use a VPN to get around that, but that's ridiculous. This is dumb. Okay, this is actually the Google Play Books brings all those fears that people have about digital books and just brings them to colorful, 1080p life. Okay, this is stupid. Sorry. All right, I don't want to be a judging guy, but really, this is just asinine business model here that Google's doing. And I'm not against all of Google's business models. A lot of them are great, but this one's terrible. Don't fall for it. Now, what are some advantages that Google Play Books allows? It allows you to upload 1,000 documents, PDF or EPUB, for free. And you can access those documents on your browser, on a Chromebook or on an Android device, whatever. That's decently nice. And as far as the app on Android, it works pretty well, and it's actually pretty good at reading PDFs. So, see, I'm being completely fair here, okay? But Amazon Kindle, okay, just blows all this out of the water. Kindle allows you to upload documents. Okay, now you can't read your personal documents in the browser, that's true, but you can read them on almost any other tablet or, any other device like that. And they give you like 5 gigabytes of storage at least. If you're bought into the Amazon ecosystem, I think you can get more, but you get 5 gigabytes at least. And believe me, I know I'm not even taking up 4 gig, and I have some odd 3,000 documents in my Amazon Kindle folder, in my personal documents. Okay, those are full books and PDFs, some of them huge. All right, so there's no superior service being offered here. And Kindle can read PDFs, Kindle can read docs, text, the whole business. Okay. Also, Kindle offers like there's the Kindleverse, which I really think is great. There's like Kindle Worlds, Kindle Singles. There's all these exclusive things. Google doesn't care about books. Okay. They don't. And as far as like, well, yeah, but I want to be able to get the Google books that are available on Google Play Books. Well, you can buy Google Books without needing Google Play Books, and you can use those and you can input them into your Kindle if you'd like. Okay, that's the way to go. Kindle Play Books is a sham. It's really not letting you buy anything. It's as much a sham as Microsoft is. I think it's a terrible business practice that I don't understand. Maybe somebody can email me and tell me what exactly. SovrynTech@rising.net. Email me and tell me why Google had to use Google Play, because it's terrible. I'll be back. Are you tired of people wasting away all their precious time? Then stop using the same social media as them. Google Plus is a centralized hub for all of your Google services, your ideas, and your passions. Google Plus has a much more international user base, as to where other forms of social media center around so-called developed nations that really don't do anything exciting in the first place. Google Plus has almost no spam and has very few cat pictures, pictures of police, or anything else government-related. Stop using Facebook. You have an alternative. Start using Google Plus today. It is time for listener emails, where I cover the emails that get sent to me, or the questions, I should say, that get asked to me via Twitter. Yes, you can direct message me on Twitter, twitter.com/SovrynTech. Or you can also, actually no one's done this yet, but I think it's possible you can message me through SoundCloud if you have a SoundCloud account, which, please, if you want to do something, you don't want to donate to the show, you can't donate to the show right now. I don't blame you. I mean, things are, especially in the cryptocurrency world, which is the only way you can donate to the show. In the cryptocurrency world, things are just, madness right now. So I don't blame you, for not wanting to deal in that instability. But if you want to do something that can help the show, a couple things you can do is you can get, my Twitter follower count up, by following me on Twitter. And these are, this is my private Twitter, my personal, I shouldn't say private, it's not private, but it's my personal Twitter account. And believe me, if you're going to use social media, Google Plus is a good option. Facebook is not a good option. We're going to talk about that later. Twitter is a fine option. Twitter, does everything right by the numbers, with the EFF. They even, Twitter recently inputted perfect forward secrecy. Twitter can run through Tor natively on multiple devices. Twitter's great. So if you want to do, you can create a Twitter account and, just have my follower count go up if you want to help out that way. Or even more helpful is if you create a SoundCloud account, okay, which is the best way to really get access to the show. It really is. SoundCloud, if you want it offline, with your podcatching, app or whatever, that's cool. I totally understand. But SoundCloud is really, really nice. Granted, yes, you have to have an internet connection. I understand. Okay. But SoundCloud is really, really nice for playing, all kinds of things. I think it's one of the best websites on the internet, just hands down. And I wish that they would actually make the social aspect of it, because it is technically a social media site. I wish they would implement a lot more social into their media, because I think SoundCloud really has just a super bright future for it. But if you want to help out, you can actually make a SoundCloud account if you want. You can make an anonymous bullshit named one. That's fine. And you can follow me on SoundCloud. So those are also ways you can help out, help the show out. And of course, I really appreciate it. And the numbers keep going up for the listeners of Sovryn Tech, and that's just awesome. Anyway, I've got a listener email. I want to calm down a little bit. Okay. Fortunately, normally I think I have very low blood pressure instead of high. So I'm fine. But this comes from an emailer, actually overseas, which is really great. And it's, and again, I will keep you anonymous unless you explicitly come out and say, hey, Brian Sovryn, you can mention that I asked you about this. And so what this person's asking about is, I think it's pronounced Breatharianism. Okay. Not as in like getting a breath of fresh air, but it's called Breatharianism. And in Latin, it had another phrase. It was like anedia, which is fasting. Because a lot of this whole idea of breatharianism, you're going to see, has a lot wrapped up in a lot of religions, but Christianity in particular. And what breatharianism, essentially is, bare bones. And the emailer was asking me, have you heard of this? Is this true? Do you put any stock in it? And what breatharianism is the belief that, now there's a couple different definitions, because there's a belief that you can live without eating food, but you can drink water. But then there's also people who make the claim that breatharianism actually is that you don't ingest anything. Okay. You actually, all you do is, you don't drink and you don't eat. And to the best of my knowledge on this, okay, is that, anybody that's made the claim that they've been doing this for a really long time, and there have been quite a few people that have made the claim, they've been discovered to be lying. Like that at some point, essentially, they would, either A, they won't subject themselves to tests to see, if there's actually anything in their stomach, or B, someone will go off to this, they'll run off into the woods somewhere, and then someone will find them and they're actually they're eating insects or something. And this is, there was a lot of, particularly in Christianity, there were a lot of the desert saints that they're called in Catholicism, okay, that they claim, to have, a lot of them were they call them the desert saints because they were living in the deserts, and then they're popular. Again, they're saints in Catholicism and Eastern Orthodox. Of course, Protestants don't generally believe in the idea of saints. But I mean, there's Nicholas of Flue, who else? Catherine of Siena, Elizabeth the Good. So it's not just something that men have only claimed. Women have claimed this feat too. El Pius of Cadot. There's quite a few in the Christian realm that have made this claim. And, obviously there's no way we can verify that because the desert saints were from, 1,000 years ago at least. I think science is pretty clear that, yes, you can go without eating for a long time. I think like a month maybe. But you can't go without drinking for more than 3 days. You have to drink water. And essentially, I guess what they say is, you'll pass out and die or whatever. I can speak to some degree. Now, I was in the military, okay, and I went in the military at various times. I went through some pretty rigorous forms of training because, that was part of my job description. And in the military, I remember specifically having to go 36 hours without eating or drinking. I could feel it. Now, this isn't a case where, there's lots of people say, well, when you're withdrawing from drugs after 72 hours or whatever, it's all mental. It's not real. No, I'm pretty sure that I couldn't carry my ruck anymore. Okay. I don't think that was just mental. My body was saying, you can't do this. So this is one area where I agree, boy, if we didn't have to eat or drink, wow, what a freeing thing that would be. But I think the science stands that that it is necessary. Now, I mean, this brings to mind also, to me, there's people who claim, or there was a couple years ago who, I mean, this is a little bit different from breatharianism, but there was a couple of years ago who said their kid, and I think at the time, I'd have to look into this again because it's been years, but it was a big story, ABC, the whole thing, where this kid couldn't, didn't sleep. The kid just never slept. And the parents actually had to parent in shifts. The father had to watch the kid at night and the mother had to watch the kid during the day because the kid literally never slept, but just had tons of, rambunctious energy. Now, I don't know whatever came of that. Maybe eventually that wore off. I've heard of people in the Philippines, Okay, when I went to the Philippines, and I've heard of people in the Philippines who have claimed that they haven't slept for 40 years. So, I mean, again, does this have to do with breatharianism? Maybe, maybe not. But I think it's interesting, because we're talking about testing the limits of the human body, kind of like a David Blaine kind of thing, right? And, I can say, like, I try to, and please, listeners, don't hesitate to laugh at this because I recognize how ridiculous it was. But I remember I was reading the novelization of Nightfall, which is a story where Batman stops being Batman. Like, Bane breaks his back. And if I just spoiled something for you, please. Nightfall came out in the 90s. You should have already read it. Bane breaks his back. And so he gives essentially the mantle of the Bat over to Azrael. It was John Paul Valley or whatever. But Azrael, or as he commonly becomes to be known as Bat, he ends up becoming like this really, like, he's a really brutal guy. And in fact, he'll even kill because Batman doesn't believe in killing. Fancy that. And so anyway, so Batman has to stop as Bat. And so he goes to get retrained. And in his retraining, he talks about his capabilities in the novelization. The comic book didn't really talk about it that I remember. Okay. But he talks about, like, his personal abilities. And Batman states, again, this is all fiction. I know, but I was a kid. All right. I was a teenager. Give me a break. Okay. But, Batman says, yeah, I only sleep 2 hours a week, which makes sense because, Batman's fighting crime at night and having to run Wayne Enterprises during the day to some degree. So you would think he's not sleeping a whole hell of a lot. Well, it ends up that's the amount that Batman sleeps is 2 hours a week. So I thought I'd try for that. And I made it to about 52 hours. And this is when I was working, a relatively physically intensive job at the time. And like towards the end of my last shift, this is getting into like the 50th hour or so. Like I start uncontrollably drooling. And like my boss, she essentially told me, Brian, go sit down. And I sat down and literally like I just like slumped over onto this table. I didn't fall asleep. I just slumped over and like when my mother came to pick me up because I couldn't drive home. Okay. When my mother came to pick me up, like literally when I got up, there's just like, there's just this like pool of drool on that table that I slumped over on. Okay. So I've done some testing of the human limits of the body. Okay. And I am no weak person, especially at that time. I was, I'm in fine shape now, but back then I was, in tremendous shape. The body can't do that. Okay. It has to sleep or, maybe there's some freak kind of nature. I don't know, there's like the story with the kid. I mean, who knows, but maybe the body's just producing so much constant fucking energy with that kid. But maybe when he turned 13, suddenly, he couldn't do that anymore. And one night he just fell asleep, I don't know. Admittedly, credit to the parents, real quick. Credit to the parents for not, like injecting their kid with like horse pills or forcing horse pills on their kid, just so the kid would fall asleep. They actually like let the kid do what it does. As to where, there's lots of people who believe like in like sleep training their children, which is ridiculous. How dare you tell a kid when it should sleep? That's the whole point of unschooling and like being, a peaceful parent, right? Is letting a kid discover the world more or less on its own. And you're just a steward, okay, of its safety to some degree. Anyway, yeah. So the human body, a lot of these things, like I said, I've tested quite a bit of it. Okay. And it just can't happen. Now, yes, you can go a while where like you're just drinking water. You can go a really, really long time with that. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked. I haven't personally tested this, but I wouldn't be shocked if you could go beyond, those 30 days. But I suppose, results may vary depending on how much fat stores you have in your own body, things like that. A lot of options there. But this breatharianism, there hasn't been a single, even amongst the most, and I'll admit, as a hobby, I like to read some of what people would call, and I don't mean this to be necessarily so derogatory, but I read a lot of woo-woo papers, or a lot of woo-woo articles. And no one's really, really proven this. So I really appreciate the emailer, asking about it, because it's something that maybe you haven't heard of. And if you haven't, awesome, because great, Sovryn Tech brought up something that doesn't get talked about anywhere else, right? Though I guess, there are episodes, I'm not sure which episodes they are, but there are episodes I've heard in the past, or I've heard of from other people in the past, the Free Talk Live, where people have called in claiming that they were breatharians or whatever, and that they've been going forever without eating or drinking. But yeah, no, I don't think it's possible at all. I mean, and even just from a scientific sense, okay, like the very fact that humans, Paleolithic humans, or even before then, or not necessarily before then, but you know what I mean, because some people think that Paleolithic humans just means a small time frame, but they had a very, very much a ketogenic diet. They ate a lot of fats, and they cooked their food, and a lot of people theorize, a lot of scientists theorize that cooking of the food and eating of fats is what actually developed our large brains and what actually helped develop our intelligence. So, I mean, if you want to toss like the evolution of man out the door, which to some degree you can, because, I want to touch on this real quick, but there's this great article going around, great kind of study by a guy named Eugene McCarthy that says that humans are actually the descendants of a hybridization of pigs and chimpanzees. I think it's tremendous. I'm really, really intrigued by this research. And interestingly, the guy doesn't make any really wild claims, but he comes right out. But a lot of people are coming right out and saying, oh, this guy like believes in aliens, that, in ancient aliens and all this bullshit. No, the guy's really like a dead serious scientist. I don't like it when scientists get, just like tossed offhand because something they're talking about is so, mainstream outlandish, like the Institute of Heart Math. A lot of people think that the work they're doing is crazy. I don't think it's crazy at all. They're dead serious scientists, and they're really researching this stuff. But anyway, so as long as you're not questioning, the evolution of man, I don't think there's any reason to believe that breatharianism, that it's nonsense. And if I have a listener who happens to be a breatharian, I will put you on the show. Okay. And believe me, I will treat you with the utmost respect. If you are, but, I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. I don't think man could possibly even get to the point where they could think of things like breatharianism if they didn't eat and drink. It just doesn't gel. And why did they eat and drink? Not because someone told them to. The Paleolithic humans ate because they had to. They were hungry. Okay. They did things, on a lot of instinct. And so to say, like, if you didn't have to eat, wouldn't the instinct be to not eat? Little fallacy there. Anyway, I'll be back with more. Thank you very much for the email. I thought it was interesting. Breatharianism. Who knew? This is Sovryn Tech.
The Electronic Frontier Foundation, or EFF, fights to protect your rights in the digital world. When a patent troll threatened podcasters, they fought back. EFF has also defended your right to encryption and has sued the NSA to end the government's mass, suspicionless surveillance. There are different ways you can help EFF, from donations to signing petitions to writing your representatives to just spreading the word. Find out more at EFF.org. That's EFF.org.
Brian! Stop playing those video games!
Just a minute, Mom.
Game Talk.
It is time for the Brian Sovryn Bitching Show. I mean, sorry, it's time for game talk. Because I'm about to do some more bitching. But unbelievable. This episode, I knew it. You know, I was putting it all together yesterday, and I was like, holy cow! I'm just there. You know, I'm just going to be yelling the whole time, and I have to record 3 episodes today. I'm going away to Las Vegas, you know, next week, and so I'm giving you guys the triple load. You know, and I'm recording 3 episodes. Anyway, I love all of you. I really do. But here we go. This is crazy. I have, you know, whenever there's a dead week, things are so, with the new consoles coming out, there's so much great news that I've had to put off some of my plans for Game Talk for a couple episodes away, maybe longer. But it's my show, so I can do that, you know. So I apologize if I said I'd be doing something this week and I end up pushing it back. I assure you I do it with the thoughts of entertainment and infotainment in mind. But anyway, this is last week. I think it was last week we talked about the clusterfuck of Microsoft advertising that they just constantly do, and it's just getting worse. Now they're still they've done another ad on Chromebook where they're doing like man on the street kind of ads, and they're just like they're asking people who need Office and who need Photoshop, you know, and it's like you know, whether they want a Chromebook. Of course they don't want a Chromebook, and you're cherry picking people that need, you know, like that need to use spreadsheets, and you know, and even that, a lot of that could get done on, you know, on Google Docs, on Google Drive, but they're cherry picking people, and Microsoft's just coming out looking so bad. But this takes the cake. I think this is actually worse than that, you know, really that sexist bullshit that they pulled off that we last talked about. And this story is from BBC News. How about that? And it's Microsoft Xbox users' account suspended after swearing. Okay. And it actually gets worse. Users of Microsoft's Xbox One console caught swearing in video clips are having their accounts suspended. Files containing excessive profanity will be taken down, and their owners will have access to some features on Xbox Live removed. Microsoft said all files uploaded to its Upload Studio were monitored for violations of its code of conduct. So whatever you're uploading to Xbox Live, Microsoft's going through with a fine-tooth comb. There you go. Take that. Which is funny because didn't they say it wasn't part of their ad campaign against Google is they're stealing your data. Okay. The review process was to help maintain a clean, safe, and fun environment for all users, the company said. Who defines what clean is? The King James Bible? You know, funny thing. Ready for this? Just a little side note on swearing. Okay. Everybody there's a verse in the book of Matthew, which is in the New Testament. So a lot of my Jewish friends probably haven't read that. Okay. Good for you. But in the book of Matthew, there's a point where Jesus says, don't swear at all. Now, that gets taken out of context, meaning don't swear, don't use, foul language, okay? And actually, there's another verse I'll talk about in a second, but it says don't swear at all. What he's talking about is swearing oaths. He's saying don't swear oaths to anyone, which is funny because when you join the military, you generally swear an oath to the military, and a lot of people think that, the U.S. military is such fine Christian people. Well, if they're actual Christians following their Bible, they wouldn't swear an oath to the Constitution. No one would. Again, not a Christian country. Sorry. Or then they use, Paul says, I think it's in Corinthians where Paul says that, foul language is not a way of a Christian or whatever, but they miss the point where Paul, when you read the whole verse, Paul says that don't criticize people for using foul language. Don't not associate with them because they use foul language, because you were once young too. So again, where this idea that swearing is somehow some kind of terrible thing came from, I have no idea. So they're banning accounts, okay, or they're suspending them. Let's read a little bit about this, and then there's another story to add on to this. Responses to the action taken by Microsoft were varied. These are quotes from people. I question the validity of this, but the average gamer is 32. I don't mind hearing someone saying it. Free speech, said one member. Good for them. Another thought some moderation was necessary. Game uploads get sent to everyone. You see them when you browse a game, etc. There has to be some control and moderation. Your private conversations are not censored or moderated. Only what you share with the public, which includes little kids. Oh, because, those little kids aren't going to go outside and hear someone say, fuck, 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 fuck all the time. Come on. Anyway, what's happening with the new generation of consoles is that they are increasingly incorporating social network-like features. There's a lot more sharing and communication between players, which means more potential for abuse of the terms of service, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I want to get on to the next story, which the next story is that essentially a guy was playing NBA 2K14. Great game. I love it. Okay, on Xbox Live. And so he's playing, and, he's playing against people, multiplayer or whatever. And he starts trash talking and swears. And the game, okay, this isn't even Xbox Live banning or suspending or giving a warning or something. Okay, the game gave him a technical foul. Now in basketball, like that's one of the rules, like, foul, and like when you hit somebody or something like that, right? The game gave him a technical foul, and the opponent got to go for a three-pointer. The game gave him a technical foul for swearing. What the hell is that? And some people have looked into this, and it's all Microsoft's doing. The Steam version doesn't do that. The PS4 version doesn't do that. As far as we know about the PS4 version anyway. But holy shit. I mean, what is this? Trash talking is as much a part of multiplayer gaming as anything is. It's just there. It's talking smack. It's what people do. Don't like it? Don't multiplayer game, or don't turn on your microphone or your headphones or whatever. Turn off, that can easily be done. All right. But to get a technical foul in a game for something you said, and people talk about how like the Kinect is so invasive of their living room and all this stuff. No kidding. They're tracking every word you say. Imagine like there's like a big tournament going on, and like some parent or some, some other person, some other person starts swearing, and that gets received by your Turtle Beach headphones. And then suddenly, you essentially lose the game because there's a technical foul and your opponent gets to go for a 3-pointer. What is that? Why are gamers not up in arms about this? In fact, that story, where I read that from, it was on Geek Tyrant about that story. In that story, the writer of the article said this is great because it's going to stop the toxic environment of Xbox Live. No, how dare you try and control people's speech? We don't allow for that anywhere. Or, at least I don't think we should. That's crazy. This is absolute crazy. Do not go for that Xbox One. This is too much, too far. The average age, it's statistically proven. The average age of a gamer today is in their 30s. Okay? I'm a gamer. I'm in my 30s. They're in their 30s. And you're going to do this kind of censorship? Well, for the little kids. What, the little kids aren't going to see the world? You want to shelter them away from everything? Again, isn't that kind of a problem? Like, aren't they supposed to kind of explore the world? This is just so mind-blowing. And, and this annoys me because, like I've mentioned before, Sovryn Tech, okay, I've had some thoughts on possibly getting Sovryn Tech onto other networks, okay, besides LRN. But, every time I hear it, they're like, well, no foul language. You need to keep the sexual content down. This is all this and that. And I just go, is anybody human out there? Is anybody actually does anybody feel anything? Because to say that all of our media has to be, so filtered and restrained, that just drives me nuts. So Sovryn Tech will stay its small little thing. Will never be available on Xbox Live. Not that it was going to be available there anyway. But because I absolutely refuse to somehow kowtow to these kind of rules. I'm just not. If I'm on someone else's show, fine, I'll play by their rules. Okay, but on my show, there are no rules. Never. There will just no. Okay, and I'm not going. And for the sake of greater exposure, nope, not playing that game. Sorry. And again, speaking of playing games, dude, what is with Microsoft? They are just failing right and left. It kind of reminds me when the WWE went into the PG era, and everybody's just like, like Vince McMahon in the 90s, okay, again, we're talking about world wrestling, okay? Vince McMahon in the 90s, he came out and said, look, wrestling's fake, because before then, it wasn't admitted to, even though a lot of people recognize it. He said, wrestling's fake, and we're not going to insult your intelligence anymore, okay? And so then what do they do in the PG era? They go and they start insulting everybody's intelligence now, all right? And Microsoft is just insulting gamers' intelligence, saying, no, you've got to act like this little boy or little girl when they're in the 30s. And to say nothing of the fact of the ultimate in double standards in the entertainment industry, which is that, on Xbox Live, you can blow a guy's head off, but you can't say fuck or shit or ass or cock or come on. Nobody's writing into Microsoft about this. Unbelievable. Anyway, this is Sovryn Tech. I'll be back with more.
Not sure what to get for that special person in your life this holiday season? Look no further. Savory Scents Candles has something for you. Savory Scents aims to please with quality products and service. They even accommodate your special requests. Visit SavoryScentsCandles.com and be sure to check out the exclusive subscription boxes. That's SavoryScentsCandles.com. For 10% off regular orders, use coupon code FTL. Wow! Oh. It's a website of the week.
It is time for Website of the Week, where I cover websites that are useful. Sometimes they're terrible, and sometimes they do draw a fine line between being a website and software. And in this week, and this is something I forgot to mention at the top of the show that I really wanted to, but there is now, I have created a IRC channel for Sovryn Tech. It's called if you know anything about IRC, which is Instant Relay Chat, the channel is called, it's the hashtag symbol, and then Sovryn Balnea, okay, Balnea. It's in the show notes now. I've put it in the show notes, and it'll be there from now on. And I don't have to be there to run it. It is on Freenode, okay, which is an IRC server you can connect to, probably one of the most popular ones. It also has Bitcoin and Litecoin channels on Freenode, and they are wild. Boy, if you want information on Bitcoin and, if you want to be on the ground floor of what's happening with Bitcoin and Litecoin, those are the places to be. Let me tell you, forget about any kind of thing on Facebook or Bitcoin talk. It's just not happening. Anyway, so the website this week is KiwiIRC.com. And what it is, Kiwi IRC is actually, it's a website you can go to that allows you, that works as an IRC client, okay? Because normally you'd have to get onto IRC, you would have to install, and IRC is a chat. It's one of the oldest, it was made in like 88. It's the oldest chat software in the world almost. And so, it's really great. And normally you'd have to install a client like Merc or something, on your computer. But Kiwi IRC lets you do it right from your browser, which is great for me because that way I can access it from my Chromebook, which is why I initially started looking into this, because I wanted to get on IRC. And we'll talk about this later in the show because I'm so sick of Facebook. I really am. And IRC, I read an article this week that, or it was from April of this year, but I read it this week, that essentially said IRC is the new black. everything that's old is new again. And I think especially when you take into consideration, all the nonsense that the NSA and the FBI and essentially the U.S. government and governments all around the world are doing, IRC is a pretty good answer as far as where to go, and even the nonsense that Facebook's doing. IRC is, yes, you can't, there isn't the set record of everything said in the chat. You'd have to take screenshots or you'd have to record, keep a chat log of everything that gets said if you're interested in that. But IRC is a great thing to take advantage of. I don't know how often, I'll be in that IRC channel as often as I can be. If the computer's running, I'll be in the IRC channel. It doesn't mean I'll always respond to whatever's going on in there. But I think this is really a way to go, in a quote-unquote post-Prism world. And Kiwi IRC is so simple to use. You go to the website, there's a nice big red button that says try me. This is all open source. Again, you love open source, here it is. And you can create your nickname. It's so basic, and you can even choose what channel you want to go to. You get to select your network that you want to access, which in this case, if you're going to the Sovryn Belnea, you click on Freenode. Really simple user interface. And then you would just, it says what channel do you want to go to, and you would type in hashtag Sovryn Belnea, and you can go there. And there's some commands that you kind of need that are good to learn for using IRC. But as far as actually accessing IRC, Kiwi IRC makes it as easy as I can possibly get, in my opinion. It is just so simple. And I love it. And again, it's open source. It's accessible on pretty much anything you use. They don't have, I don't think you can access it per se, maybe through maybe on a tablet, but on a smartphone, maybe not. But anyway, you can access it on anything else. It's the ultimate cross-platform. I'll be back.
Oh, yeah.
This is Stephanie Murphy, Sovereign Tech Producer. You may know me from this show, but did you know that I have my own podcast? It's called Pork Therapy. Pork Therapy is a bit different from other shows. We cover current events, big ideas, and even relationship issues, all through the lens of how we can get more freedom in our lives. Oh, and you'll love Sex and Science Hour. Join me on my website, porktherapy.com. That's porctherapy.com. Now back to Sovereign Tech. Hacker Stories.
It's time for Hacker Stories, where we talk about security issues, or we talk about, some of the real heroes in the world, hackers. We talk about all sorts of things, and we've talked about a lot of different security issues in this entire episode. So really, I don't just confine things to this one segment about it, but I wanted to make sure at least once a week that we are talking about hackers and security issues and things like that. And speaking, if you want to learn more, this is I'm kind of doing an impromptu pick of the week here. If you want to learn more, about security and things like that, someone asked me about that this week, a listener of the show, and a great thing to check out is it's on the Twit network. It's called Security Now, and it's a podcast with Steve Gibson and Leo Laporte. And if you want to learn about security, boy, it is the way to go. It is so good. It may not be sometimes sometimes it may be kind of a dry presentation as far as a podcast goes. Sometimes, not always. Leo does a great job of keeping things livened up. But that's really a place if you want to get, if you want to dip your toes into the world of security, that's the place to go. Steve Gibson, I personally, I trust him. But anyway, this week we're going to talk about a paper that was released, and it was photocopied, put up on Scribd on the internet, and it was a document given to employees of the NSA about, hey, you're going to Thanksgiving. Last week was Thanksgiving, and you're going to Thanksgiving dinners and all this stuff, and your family's going to know, hey, this guy works for the NSA. Could you tell me a little bit more about that PRISM stuff? And with that in mind, they did a write-up of how to answer these questions. How nice. They don't even want, it's so funny because it tells the story. They don't want their people to even think, on their feet. It's like, no, this is what you're going to say to them. This is what you need to tell the American people. And we'll go through these. So this is from a scan of what was sent home, for Thanksgiving with NSA employees. It says NSA/CSS employees, of course, Central Security Service employees, are authorized to share the following points with family and close friends. I guess they're not that close of friends, and I guess, by our conventional standards of family, they're not very good family because you can't actually share everything with them if you wanted to, according to the government. Anyway, and this is dated for the 22nd of November, 2013. Number one, the NSA's, and then there's bullet points underneath each of these. Number one, NSA's mission is of, underlined, great value to the nation. Okay. NSA provides timely, actionable intelligence to political and military customers who use that information in a range of activities from decision-making to military operations. Warfighter support. NSA has stood shoulder to shoulder with our military and coalition partners, providing timely and actionable data so they could see and take action against the threats they faced. That is true. I have been shoulder to shoulder with guys from the NSA. Counterterrorism. NSA programs protect Americans and our allies, which, boy, if allies isn't a term that could change by the day. As an example, they have helped to understand and disrupt 54 terrorist events since 9/11, 25 in Europe, 11 in Asia, and 5 in Africa. 13 of those had a homeland nexus, which, maybe if there wasn't an NSA, maybe if there weren't military operations going on abroad, maybe we wouldn't have to find any terrorists because there wouldn't be any. Ooh. Let's see, the next bullet point, cybersecurity. NSA directly supports the defense of Department of Defense networks by translating actionable intelligence into signatures and instructions that can be used actively to actively defend DoD networks. Okay. Defend them like, say, if their password for all the nuclear weapons in the United States was a series of 6 zeros. Yeah, good job. Full disclosure, okay, that's a story that's been going around that's been kind of popular because everybody found out that, hey, actually, the password to all of our nukes for, decades was 0000000. Admittedly, some people have said, and I don't believe anybody would be this smart, but some people have said that most brute force attacks or most guesses at, okay, what's the password for these things would be 000001, and then they would go up. And so actually the most logical choice would be 6 zeros. I disagree. I would have come up with a better system, especially if I had all the money that the NSA has. Anyway, NSA performs, or, that the military has, whoever, doesn't matter the department, okay? Wow. Number 2, NSA performs its mission the right way, underlined, the right way. It's kind of funny how they underline these certain points, like saying, it's great value to the nation the right way. And there's another one coming up, exceptionally well. So that, they want to make sure you get out the key words that say, no, we're doing a good job. NSA performs its mission the right way, lawful, compliant, and in a way that protects civil liberties and privacy. I'll give you a moment for a collective laugh amongst my listeners. Lawful, compliant, and in a way that protects civil liberties and privacy. Okay. Oddly enough, last time I checked, Germany was not an ally of the United States. I don't know that necessarily makes them an ally, but as far as I know, we're not at war with them, and they have worked with us in the past, so I'm guessing that makes them an ally. But weren't the Germans the one complaining that they were being looked into, unwarranted? So where exactly are they protecting civil liberties and privacy? The right way. Now, they are being lawful due to the Patriot Act. That is true. They are being lawful. The Patriot Act would appear to supersede the Constitution, which I don't care, because I will agree with President. Here's the one statement I will agree with President George W. Bush on. The Constitution is just a goddamn piece of paper. Okay, that is all it is. It's words. They're just words, and so what? You know, I agree. But, you know, the NSA claims to go by this stuff, but clearly they don't care. They break it or they make up laws that supersede all of it. Anyway, to the bullet points, NSA analysts do not decide what topics to work. They respond directly to requirements driven by the president's intelligence priorities documented in the National Intelligence Priorities Framework and managed by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The NSA does not target U.S. citizens or permanent resident aliens unless that targeting is premised on a finding of probable cause to believe that the person is a foreign power or the agent of a foreign power. Like the boyfriends and girlfriends of workers in the NSA. I guess they're working for a foreign power because they were spied on. With none of these, you know, that story that was talked about on Free Talk Live in the past, with none of these people who are being questioned, hey, yeah, why did you read your girlfriend's email? You know, the guy didn't come out and say, well, I thought she was a terrorist. What? You know, you've been dating this woman for 2 years and you work for the NSA? You know, you work for the security agency and you've been dating a terrorist? I guess the NSA's, their vetting process is terrible. So stupid. NSA's activities are governed and constrained by law and policy. Okay. We operate unless those laws and policies don't allow for any constraining. We operate under oversight by all three branches of government, legislative, judicial, and executive. That is a patent lie. The NSA does not operate under the oversight of those groups at all. In fact, the NSA almost directly answers to the executive branch, and thus the executive branch essentially has blackmail on the other two branches. Okay, there is no oversight over all three branches of government. That is bullshit. Next bullet point, the NSA does not and will not steal industry secrets in order to give U.S. companies a competitive advantage. Okay. This is funny. Highway, which is a company out of China, they recently said, yeah, I think we're just not going to do business in the United States because congressmen, I think it was Joe Biden, not congressman, it was Joe Biden who came out and said, don't buy Highway devices because the Chinese government is spying on us. And what's the NSA doing? Anyway, the NSA does not and will not demand changes by any vendor to any product, nor does it have any authority to demand such changes. No, only the Vice President of the United States can tell you, don't buy this product. Lie, 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 lie. There's quite a few more to go through. There's 5 of these, and I'll just touch on them quick. The NSA performs its mission exceptionally well. We strive to be the best that we can be because that's what America requires as part of its defense in a dangerous world. Okay, that might be true. They're the best at breaking civil liberties. The people who work for NSA are loyal Americans with expert skills who make sacrifices to help protect the freedoms we all cherish. That is true of at least one NSA employee, that being Edward Snowden. He made a sacrifice to help protect the freedoms that we all cherish. Everybody else in the NSA is just not. Okay, they're not protecting anything. They're just encroaching. Number 5, this is the last one. There's a bunch of bullet points. You can look at this in the show notes again. Number 5 is NSA is committed to increased transparency, public dialogue, and faithful implementation of any changes required by our overseers. We are committed to the protection of our people, our allies, and civil liberties and privacy. We will be more transparent in discussing the business of the NSA, the work that we do, the authorities under which we operate, and the governance over them to ensure that Americans understand the NSA. So you're essentially telling me that Edward Snowden really didn't do anything that great that the NSA would eventually admitted to it anyway. No. You're not going to give out any transparency. You're not going to give me a break. Okay? And even if the NSA did half of what they did, we've still got the FBI that has a whole ton of stuff to answer for now. Okay? This is a government. Listeners of this show, this isn't a shock to say, but if you decide to share Sovereign Tech around a little bit, this is a government that does not care about you. Okay? Not outside of its own interests anyway. It does not care about your liberties. I'll be back with more.
What does freedom mean? Tune in to LRN.FM to find out. LRN.FM is the Liberty Radio Network, a collection of live talk radio and podcasts, all coming from a principled pro-liberty perspective. LRN.FM show hosts aren't left, right, or conspiracy kooks. You can tune in 24/7 to LRN.FM via your phone, computer, satellite, and more. Listen free anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Would you like to play a game? Game of the Week.
It is time for Game of the Week, where I kind of talk about maybe a game that you might have missed, or maybe something that's had a really soft launch, and you don't know about it. But maybe it's something you need to reinstall. Maybe it's a classic that's out there that might even be available for free these days. And this week's Game of the Week is actually totally available for free. Very, very excited about it. You can download it from there. There's links out there that you can just download it from. Of course, you'd probably need something like DOSBox, to be able to play it. DOSBox, of course, being an emulator for classic computer games and classic computer software in general. They used to run off of MS-DOS. When I was a little kid, I actually called it MS-DOS, or like I would call it most DOS. That was anyway. DOS, of course, meaning disk operating system for those that don't know. So this game, I love it. This is a classic, and it's called One Must Fall 2097. I love this game. It's a fighting game, much like a Mortal Kombat, but it has robots. And it's kind of, there was another one I think it was called Rise of the Robots. That was a popular one too, but this one was really, really cool. Great animation. Actually had somewhat of a storyline. You could unlock robots. This is before games were popular for having like unlocking abilities where you could unlock characters and stuff like that. This is way before that. Because I think the game originally came out in 1994. I mean, way ahead of the curve. And it did only come out for PC as far as I know. And it again, One Must Fall 2097. And it the graphics today may not look the best, but I definitely recommend playing it. It has all the right moves. Make sure you get the one with the latest patch, because like some of the earlier versions of the game, if I remember correctly, you could do what they're called shadow attacks, where there were certain bots that had the ability to like launch a shadow version of themselves out, and the AI, the computer AI that you would fight against if you weren't doing multiplayer, the computer AI wouldn't defend against a shadow attack, and so you could just keep winning, and that's cheating. Or it's not cheating because the game allowed for it, but but it's cheap anyway. So, and also the latest version like allowed for multiplayer, and if you can get that set up, let me know, because I'd love to play you. But it just tons of fun, and again, it allowed for like upgrading. A lot of the staples that you see really in RPGs that you don't even see so much in fighting games today were all put into One Must Fall 2097. It's really, really cool, way ahead of its time. And again, still lots of fun. And the music, oh God, the music is so good. In fact, if you go to ocremix.org, which is Overclocked Remix, where you can like download for free. You can download remixes of video game music. It's a great website. They have some songs from One Must Fall 2097, and they are, you can dance to them, you can rock to them, you can fuck to them. They're amazing. So do check that out. But One Must Fall 2097, you have, I think there's like 8 robots you get to choose from, and you unlock more as you go, and you can upgrade them, you can change the colors of them, a lot of customization, all stuff that really didn't happen until like the PlayStation came out a couple of years later. And there is online multiplayer that they finally allowed for, and it is freeware. So, not that I care about copyright laws, but if you do, you don't have to worry about it with One Must Fall. There was a sequel release called Battlegrounds, and I guess I actually never played Battlegrounds, so I might need to do the reinstall on that. But if you have played Battlegrounds, I'd love to get your opinion. You can email me at sovereigntech@riseup.net, and I'd love to hear about what you thought about Battlegrounds. But there was also a prequel game, which is pretty much a Street Fighter clone, but really the original game, One Must Fall, as compared to One Must Fall 2097. One Must Fall was just like a proof of concept. And so they used kind of like just a Ken and Ryu character. Really, it was a beta thing. It wasn't any big deal. So one must fall 2097. That's the real gold. That's the goods. And believe me, you will just have tons of fun. Really, I mean, they do all these cool little epic things. Like even the levels that you fight within are interactive, like where you can knock a guy against like the cage and the cage will electrify. Again, it's all robots. Or, like when you do this really awesome move, it'll go into slow motion. All stuff that's just being put into fighting games today. It's awesome. So anyway, check it out. One Must Fall 2097. And this is Brian Sovryn, and I will be back with more.
So I'm interested in getting some Bitcoins.
Well, you could buy Bitcoins with cash through a bank deposit, but that's not anonymous. Think about it. Banks won't even let you wear a hat or sunglasses. And they require a signed deposit slip which catches your fingerprints by design so any curious bureaucrat can monitor what you're doing.
Yikes. So how do you buy Bitcoins while staying off the radar?
You gotta try MoneyPackTrader.com. MoneyPackTrader.com allows you to spend your cash at Walmart or almost any drugstore or convenience store, wearing anything you want without providing any identifying information, and then receive the Bitcoin safely.
That sounds great, but what's the catch?
There's no catch. Buying truly anonymous Bitcoins can be done in a day and at a reasonable price. Visit MoneyPackTrader.com to learn how to purchase as many Bitcoins as you want with real privacy.
I'm going right now to MoneyPackTrader.com.
That's MoneyPackTrader.com.
What are you doing? I can't believe I caught you again. You know, Jesus doesn't approve of this little habit of yours.
I know, baby, I know it's wrong, but it feels so right.
Well, it ain't.
But I've been doing it since I was 12 years old.
It's nothing but a sinful perversion of nature, if you ask me.
But baby, I don't ever want to stop looking at tech websites, new gadgets, video games, software, or any of that stuff.
Well, then I'm leaving.
Okay. Bye.
Pick of the week.
It is time for Pick of the Week, where I cover whatever the hell I want to cover. I could talk about a book, a movie, you name it. There's all kinds, comic books. The sky's the limit. I've even done poetry for Pick of the Week. And it's also a chance sometimes for me to rant. I've done that on occasion, and today is going to be one of those occasions where I'm going to rant. And I have a real like love-hate relationship, it seems, with social media, for lack of a better phrasing. And I want to talk about social media, a bit more, even though, I know I've talked about it a ton of times, on the show. And I'm going to talk about Facebook in particular. I suppose this could hold true for Google Plus or Diaspora or whatever. It could hold true for any kind of venue of this nature. But I have a few different points. So, I'm going to be going very stream of consciousness here. Okay. I don't have like an official end game other than I'm just so sick of a lot of social media, which is part of the reason that I created the IRC channel, the Sovryn Balnea. Because, I think, I want to be way ahead of the curve. And I think that article that I mentioned earlier, saying that IRC is the new black, I think that's true. I think it's happening around the world. So anyway, but let's talk about Facebook. And the first thing I kind of want to talk about is that I see a lot of bloggers on Facebook who, like maybe they do YouTube videos or something, and they will ask a question on Facebook. And these aren't just liberty-oriented, but of course, a lot of what I consume is liberty-oriented media because I'm a liberty-oriented guy, and it just makes sense, that I would want to listen to something I'm passionate about. But I see a lot of people, a lot of bloggers that, will like ask a question like, what would you do when someone says, well, if you're an anarchist, why don't you move to Somalia? Or, what are your thoughts about feminism? Or what are your, all this stuff? And what'll happen is like somehow, or they'll make some kind of like incendiary statement. Of course, it's generally a very, very immature incendiary statement. And the only reason that, like, I can't believe that there's people that are just that far back in the stage of liberty that kind of question matters. But even though I think that the kind of question getting asked is just so basic and so simple that, like, anybody, you know, with a head for numbers and an Etch-a-Sketch should be able to figure it out, they get like 800 likes or 1,000 likes or 2,000 likes eventually, maybe. And, you know, the train wreck of a conversation that goes on, you know, of a thread, will be 200, 300, 400, 600 comments long. And going, who's arguing about this stuff? Like, who's even like talking about this, or who even thinks that way, or whatever, you know? And, you know, this goes back to something, a very important point that I've made in the past, and that's that, like, these companies, you know, name the company, Snickers, Reese's, Ford, I don't care, any company, they will like post a picture and they'll say, caption this, okay? And then thousands or even millions of people will caption that picture. And the company gets free advertising that way. They get free advertising. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything inherently evil about or wrong about them doing that, but, you know, just on face value. But my problem is that you are giving this company, who has plenty of money to pay for good advertising, free advertising, okay, for marketing that people used to have to hash out, you know, millions of dollars or at least hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to pay people to come up with. And now they're just getting it for free. And you're getting nothing. That's the problem. It's fine if they got it for free, but they're not even offering you a t-shirt when they very well could. Okay? Now, let's go back to these bloggers and vloggers. These people are taking your thoughts, your ideas, not giving you any credit at all, because believe me, I've watched their shit, okay? And they don't mention you. They don't mention you. Okay, and they're not respecting your privacy. You're telling them on fucking Facebook, on their public accounts, you have no privacy in that sense. There's no reason for them not to mention you. Or at least even what they could do is they could do what they do in the radio industry, which makes perfect sense, is just mention your first name. But they don't do any of that. And they take your ideas because they have none of their own. That's why they're asking such banal questions. Okay, they're taking it and they are getting paid to be a blogger or a vlogger, or they're getting some kind of reputation as somehow being a great thinker amongst the libertarians, you know, for your thoughts, not theirs, because they don't have any. If they had thoughts, they would post those instead of asking you ridiculous questions, absolutely ridiculous, asinine questions. Okay? Do you see what I'm saying? And you guys, and please, I'm not insulting you. I love my listeners, and I love anybody that's searching for personal liberty. I really do, okay? But they're taking you guys for the ride. And you're not getting anything out of it. And in fact, if you think, okay, maybe if they used my thoughts, maybe I could at least like PM this woman or this guy. It doesn't have to be a woman, but whoever, you know, and maybe I could ask them, hey, could I buy you a coffee or something? No, if you did that, they'd say you were a creep. And yet they take your most precious of thoughts that you very kindly, and I agree, it's very kind of you, that you very kindly put out in the open on like Facebook or whatever the venue may be. It drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely nuts. You know, in fact, there's a podcast out there that's like the queen of this. There's a podcast out there that talks about these big issues, and they never come up with an answer in the end, ever. I'm not going to name the name, but I think you know who I'm talking about. And it's just, and what, you listen to it, and now look, you know, Brian Sovryn is a feminist, okay? You know the Golden Stallion's a feminist, all right? If you don't believe me, trust me, I've almost gotten people fired that I worked with because I told them, you've got to stop treating women like that, okay? I have fought for women's, you know, existences and equality. I really have, all right? I'm not boasting, I'm just saying, please believe me, I am a feminist, all right? But really, so many people are falling for all this shit because it's a woman doing it. because it's some woman in her 20s, coming out with this. Okay, now that doesn't mean that women in their 20s can't have thoughts, because let me tell you, the lovely and hyper intelligent Dr. Stephanie Murphy, okay, brought me to Liberty Heights. All right. And so yes, I'm not saying that just because they're young, they're stupid or something like that, but all you guys are just like fawning over them and giving them all of your hard work of thought. And thinking is, especially in matters of liberty, is incredibly hard work. It really is. Okay. And you're just giving it to them for nothing at all. And I'm not saying, well, gee, I talked to her, she should sleep with me. No, that's stupid. Okay. But what I'm saying is that you should be getting something out of this, at least some kind of credit. But no, instead they're taking all of your ideas to aggrandize their reputation. And it annoys the shit out of me. And part of the reason that it annoys the shit out of me is because, you know what, on Facebook, I keep saying this, a lot of people do, but I don't want to use it as much. I use Google Plus and I use Twitter. And now I want to use IRC, but on Facebook, I post seriously. Okay, please. Yes, you can call me arrogant. That's fine. Okay. Like, that's a shock to you, huh? I post gold all day long on Facebook. I mean, I post the most, frankly, ingenious, interesting, exciting, sexy, you name it. Go ahead, find me, Brian Sovryn, because they killed that whole search, that whole privacy of search thing on Facebook. Go ahead and find me. I'll friend you. I don't care. And take a look. And you email me. You tell me, or you message. Go ahead, PM me on Facebook. That's fine. You PM me and you tell me you look up my wall and you tell me that's not some of the most intriguing shit you've ever seen in your life, or that you didn't just suddenly go, holy shit, I got to jack off. And now I'm not jealous, okay, of what these other people do. I do sovereign tech. I get my thoughts out there. I'm not jealous of these other bloggers or vloggers. I don't want, I worry that I'm sounding like that. I'm not. I'm just saying, okay, that like there are some people that are actually putting out really interesting stuff on the internet and they're not getting any attention. Okay. I don't need your attention. I'm not saying to give me the attention. I'm not going for the attention. I use Facebook and I post this stuff out because if I don't write my thoughts down, I go nuts. Okay. You know what I mean? I can't let them disappear. And I don't want them to go away. And so I have to express them. And so why not express them, with some friends or whatever? So that's why I do it. It has nothing to do with me needing attention or blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I'm not jealous, but like, do you recognize how crazy this all is? I'm not saying don't do what you're doing. I'm not saying don't interact with people, but get something out of it. And these people aren't getting anything out of it. And worse, people think somehow that these people are some kind of, like I said, like they're some kind of great thinker. When they're not delivering anything. I go up and down Facebook and I'm just dying. I'm looking for that interesting stuff that I want to interact with. There's nothing for me to click like on. Nothing. Or I mean, it's crazy. I sometimes I boast about sex. Or not boast, but I talk about, sex or whatever. Nobody else talks about sex. You want me to be vulnerable and you won't tell me about what you did at midnight, baby? Come on. It's too much. And I feel like everything's just this mass contradiction. And I'm so annoyed. And, you say, well, I would be a little more expressive if I could be a little more anonymous. Well, okay, fine. Then gauntlet's laid down. You can go on IRC. You can be as anonymous as you want, especially go through Tor, whatever. You don't have to put up any identifying information. Take your pick, come on. I'm so annoyed by this, how Facebook is being used to enrich people with no value in return. No value in return. I'm not talking about the value to Facebook. I'm talking about to the people that are using it. I will say Free Talk Live, they post great stuff all day long. really, really clever stuff to 20,000 people a day, and I think that's great. But by and large, a lot of these other people, I heard a guy complain to me once. He said, how come you people aren't loud enough? No, I think people are loud enough, but they're sharing this unimportant nonsense. Anyway, I told you this was going to be a show where I was just going to get heated the whole time. Triple load this week, so listen to the rest. Thank you for listening. Carpe Lucem, and I'll see you in the next episode, and I'll see you hopefully in Sin City, baby. This is Sovryn Tech.
This has been Sovryn Tech. Visit us at sovryntech.com. That's SOVRYN tech.com. There you can connect with us, see more of what you've heard on today's show, and catch our podcast feed. Sovryn Tech is open source. We encourage you to share. Later, nerds.